Hello and welcome to a new episode on the Gamers Academy YouTube channel. My name is Outlandish and I played this game competitively for 4 years, but I decided recently to retire, become a coach, and partner up together with Gamers Academy to provide you guys educational content to make you the best players you can be. If you would like to book some individual coaching sessions either with me or one of my colleagues, you can visit us on gamers-academy.com. You can find the homepage in the description below. Today we will discuss about jungle tracking. What does that mean? How can you predict the enemy jungler's movement? And how can you adjust your own pathing to that? I hope you enjoy it and learn something from me. As I already said in the intro, I would like to introduce you to the concept of jungle tracking. In our first episode today, we will answer the first few questions about it, and the most important one, what does even jungle tracking mean? Jungle tracking in general is just having the ability as a jungler to understand what the enemy jungler does, which pathing he takes, where he is, and based on that, what decisions he will take. And based on that, you can adjust yourself, your decisions, your path, and your movement to play the most optimal way and make your team obviously succeed at the end. It doesn't matter if you're playing low elo or high elo, it's something really important to understand, an ability that gives you a lot of opportunities in game. And the better you are, the more benefit you gain from that in game. And I think in order to explain that, we need to start with the really basic concept of that, and we need to define a strong and weak side. I think this is something every jungler does and every player does, especially in a competitive environment, that he questions himself after the draft and champion select. What is my strong side and what is my weak side? It is important to define that because the jungler will most likely path into his strong side in early game, and this can already give you a clear advantage if you have the knowledge about it, where the enemy jungler will be in the first few minutes in the first few pathings. So to answer that, what is strong and weak side? In general, a weak side is just a lane that you don't necessarily want to play around. It's a lane that you don't want to give resources and gold. It's a lane that is efficient itself. Clear example, for example, would be a tank, someone that just scales, is a meat shield later stage of the game. He doesn't need resources to be effective, doesn't need resources to be strong, and he can live on his own and be really efficient. I think many people know this meme from top lane that it's an island. Many top laners are playing on their own, which I don't think is the correct way to play the game, but just to simplify that for you guys and to make you understand the basic concept of jungle tracking, I think we'll just keep it really basic here and just define weak side as a lane that you don't want to play around, that is playing it's just self-efficient, doesn't want to have gold and resources necessary to be effective in the later stage of the game. On the other hand, you have the strong side. This is the lane you want to play around as a jungler. This is a lane that needs resources. This is a lane that can take over the game at some point of the game and has the responsibility to carry, obviously, with the leads you get into this lane. If you give someone something, you need to have, he needs to take the responsibility at some point of the game to carry and be the star of the show. And yeah, this is just a basic concept of strong side and weak side. And this is something a lot of junglers, or every jungler, uses and tries to identify that in his draft in the champion select in the time span of 30 seconds to understand and adjust your own decisions, and you understand the enemy jungler's decision just based on the draft and based on the strong side and weak side. In order to visualize that for you guys, I prepared here a little map. I will link in the description the tool I use for that. In this case, it's Wicked. There are 10 tools that you can see a map with champions, and you can just explain yourself strategic moves or pathings, and just can draw something in it, so you can learn something on a really theoretical level. And here I just prepared a draft in a really extreme way of strong side and weak side to simplify that. On top lane we have Malphite against Renekton. Malphite, the tank top lane champion that doesn't really want to get played around until level 6. He's kind of vulnerable until this point. He can get ganked a lot, he can get punished a lot, but at level 6 the champion is activated and you want to start to play, probably play around it and use his ultimate to be proactive. But until level 6, this champion, in my opinion, is clear weak side, especially in the matchup against Renekton. Renekton, a champion that wants to play really aggressive, wants to control the lane, wants to bully the lane, wants to get leads. Yes, before the comment will appear down below, that Renekton can technically play it on weak side as well. We saw that in the competitive in LEC, for example. But in this case, compared with the jungle pick we have here, you want to play around the Renekton, you want to snowball it, and you want to give him as much resources as possible, because at some point Renekton is unstoppable on side lane, and the more you can punish the Malphite, the less tankier he is at the mid game or later stage of the game. The jungle matchup, we have Volibear against Nearly, another really extreme example of Volibear, more a bridge jungler, a jungler that wants to play for his teammates, wants to snowball them. Why I use this term bridge is because he's the bridge to like bring the carries to a certain point of the game where they're really strong and can take over. And Nearly is a champion that is really selfish, really needs a lot of resources. She needs to think, how can I snowball myself the fastest way? And this is like a really clear extreme example of like different identities in the jungle. And mid lane, we have a handshake matchup, nothing too spicy. I just wanted to have a matchup that we don't need to necessarily talk about too much. We keep it really simple and just talk about top lane and bot lane here. And bot lane, we have Nautilus Draven against Ezreal Yuumi, another clear example of a strong side against weak side lane, because Draven, as a champion, if you watch Tyler 1, if you watch every big one trick of Draven, every Draven player wants to have gold, wants to have resources, he wants to kill the enemies, he wants to snowball, he wants to get as fast as possible to his mythic and want to be able to carry the game. And Nautilus, a really aggressive support, has a lot of setup, a lot of gank setup, especially against Yuumi, which is a really vulnerable champion, really easy to dive, and Ezreal, not the strongest opponent against Draven Nautilus. So this is like clearly a weak side lane. Ezreal Yuumi and Draven Nautilus is a really clearly a strong side lane. We don't want to overcomplicate it. Yes, you can like change the dynamic by cheesing ganks, by having different approaches on the game, but we keep it really basic. So you can like jump into the game, in your next solo queue game, think about it, what's your strong side, what weak side, and you can make your decision based on that. You understand what the enemy jungler does, and this is the first big step you need to do as a jungler. So you're Volibear here, and you're playing against Nearly, you see the champion select, you understand, okay, I don't want to play around the Malphite, I don't want to path into his way, I want to snowball the Draven, I want to snowball myself, I want to play as proactive as I can around bot side. So the natural best decision for you is to start on top lane, which is pretty clear. And on the other hand, you have Nearly that says, okay, I have a Renekton on top lane, I have a point and click CC, I will have 100% guaranteed hit on my skill shots, I will kill the Malphite over and over again until level 6, and this is something really beneficial for me, so I can start on bot lane and path to top lane. We're not talking about later stage of the game, we're just talking about the really early game, which pathing each jungler should take as the most optimal way to play the game. So for Volibear, it would be starting on top lane, pathing to bot, giving as much resources as he can on Draven, and Nearly should path to top side and get as much pressure as she can on top side, snowballing herself and snowballing Renekton. This is just a really, really basic way of like defining strong side and weak side. We will have like many other episodes where we talk about specific matchups. What does it mean to like switch like your pathing, being creative? How can you even spot the enemy jungler level 1 later stage of the game with vision? But here for now, this is just a basic concept you have, that you go into the game, you define for yourself what is strong side, what is weak side, and based on that, you have already a clear idea what will happen in the first few minutes. I hope you learned something here, and for next game you can adapt and use it for your own benefits. This was the first episode on how to track the enemy jungler. I hope you enjoyed it, and we would really appreciate if you like, subscribe, and activate the bell on this channel. You can leave a comment below, give us feedback, or discuss with me about defining strong and weak side if this video was helpful for you and if you want to see more about it. You can contact me or one of my colleagues in our official Gamers Academy Discord server. You can find the link to that in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.